Ferrari could be in trouble. Or maybe it's just an attempt by Red Bull to destabilize them. The FIA has decided to investigate Lewis Hamilton's SF-25 following a complaint that could change the course of the 2025 season. Do you think Red Bull is overreacting, or are they right? Leave it to me in the comments, because this could change everything. The tension in Formula 1 for the 2025 season has begun before the first Grand Prix, and the controversy revolves around the new Ferrari SF-25. Red Bull has filed a formal complaint with the FIA alleging that Ferrari's car could be using technology that violates current technical regulations. This situation has created uncertainty about the development of the championship and has put the FIA at the center of an investigation that could significantly affect the preparation of the Italian team. For years, Red Bull has been one of the most active teams in pointing out possible technical irregularities in its rivals. During the 2024 season, the team led by Christian Horner and his technical director Pierre Wache maintained a constant vigilance over McLaren, denouncing the use of an aerodynamic system known as mini DRS. That complaint led to a detailed inspection by the FIA and the obligation for McLaren to modify its car. Now, Red Bull has decided to turn its attention to Ferrari, focusing its complaint on the rear wing of the SF-25. According to the complaint filed, the structure of the wing could be designed to offer a flexibility prohibited by the technical regulations. In other words, Red Bull suspects that Ferrari has found a way to reduce aerodynamic drag on straights without activating any electronic or manual mechanism, an advantage similar to the one McLaren tried to exploit in 2024. To support its accusations, Red Bull has pointed to patterns of behavior in the SF-25 observed during initial testing at Fiorano and on the first day of testing in Bahrain. High-speed images show minimal variations in the position of the rear wing, leading Red Bull engineers to suspect that Ferrari has developed a solution that operates at the limits of the regulations. The complaint has been taken seriously by the FIA, which has decided to inspect the car at Ferrari's factory in Maranello. This inspection is not a routine procedure, but a specific action that demonstrates the regulatory body's concern at the possibility that some team has found a way to circumvent technical controls. The FIA will analyze the structure of the rear wing under different loading conditions to determine whether it is a legitimate innovation or a violation of established rules. The situation has generated divided opinions in the paddock. While some teams consider the complaint to be a strategy by Red Bull to destabilize Ferrari before the start of the season, others believe that the FIA must act firmly to prevent the regulations from being interpreted in a flexible way by certain teams. The controversy highlights the fine line between innovation and illegality in Formula 1, where every technical detail can make the difference between winning and losing a championship. At the heart of the controversy involving the FIA's inspection of the Ferrari SF-25 is an aerodynamic concept known as mini DRS, an innovation that had already caused controversy in the 2024 season when McLaren implemented a similar version on its car. Although Formula 1 allows the use of the DRS, drag reduction system, an electronically controlled system that reduces aerodynamic drag on straights when activated, the mini DRS operates under completely different principles and in some cases can offer unregulated advantages. This system relies on the design of the rear wing and the flexibility of its components to subtly modify the airflow in certain race conditions. Unlike conventional DRS, which requires manual activation and is restricted to certain areas of the circuit, the mini DRS is activated passively due to the deformation of the rear wing materials when the car reaches high speeds. This controlled flexibility allows the rear wing to generate less drag without the need for additional mechanisms, providing a speed gain on straights without explicitly breaking the rules governing the use of DRS. The FIA has set strict regulations on the structural rigidity of wings to prevent teams from gaining undue advantage through aerodynamic flexibility. Under the regulations, all aerodynamic elements of a car must maintain a constant shape under varying loads and cannot significantly change their position without mechanical or electronic intervention. However, in practice, it is impossible to design a completely rigid wing, and teams have found ways to exploit tolerance margins within the FIA-mandated flexure tests. When McLaren introduced this innovation in 2024, its car showed markedly improved performance on circuits with long straights. Red Bull was the first to denounce this system, arguing that McLaren's wing deformed more than permitted under extreme aerodynamic loads. The FIA investigated the case and concluded that while McLaren's wing passed static stiffness tests, under race conditions it exhibited flexing that gave it an aerodynamic advantage not contemplated by the regulations. As a result, McLaren was forced to modify the design of its rear wing to comply with FIA regulations. Red Bull now suspects that Ferrari has developed an even more refined version of this concept in the SF-25. The allegation suggests that the new Italian car uses a subtly controlled flexing of its rear wing to reduce aerodynamic drag on straights without activating a visible mechanism. If true, this could give Ferrari a speed advantage without compromising the stability of the car in corners, an ideal combination to maximize overall performance on different types of circuits. The problem for the FIA is to determine whether the rear wing on the Ferrari SF-25 operates within the permitted limits or whether it represents a deliberate violation of the regulations. Static tests carried out in the garages before each race do not always reflect real track conditions, so the Federation has opted to carry out more detailed inspections at Ferrari's factory in Maranello. If the FIA determines that Ferrari has crossed regulatory limits, the team could be forced to redesign its rear wing, which would affect its performance in the first races of the season. However, if the inspection concludes that the SF-25 complies with the regulations, Ferrari would not only keep its original design intact, but would also obtain technical validation that would allow it to maintain its aerodynamic advantage without risk of sanctions. This situation illustrates the constant battle between innovation and regulation in Formula One. As teams seek to maximize performance through increasingly sophisticated aerodynamic solutions, the FIA must balance technological development with maintaining fair competition. The investigation into the Ferrari SF-25 could set a key precedent for future interpretations of the regulations and define the direction that technical regulations will take in the coming years. From the moment Red Bull filed its complaint against Ferrari, the Italian team has maintained a firm and calm stance, categorically denying any irregularities in the design of the SF-25. For Ferrari, this accusation is nothing more than an attempt to destabilize its main rival before the start of the 2025 season, a strategy that Red Bull has already used in the past with other teams. Ferrari managers and engineers have declared that the SF-25 complies with all technical regulations set by the FIA and that the design of the rear wing does not infringe any rules. According to the team, the car has been developed under strict criteria in compliance with the regulations and has passed all the aerodynamic bending tests required by the Federation in pre-season tests. Ferrari also maintains that any flex observed in its rear wing is within permitted margins and does not represent an undue aerodynamic advantage. This is not the first time that Ferrari has faced allegations of technical irregularities from a rival team. In previous seasons, the Italian team has already been the subject of similar investigations, especially in relation to its power unit. In 2019, Ferrari was accused of exploiting loopholes in the regulation to increase the power of its engine in an undeclared manner, leading the FIA to issue a technical directive to limit certain practices. However, unlike that occasion where there was a lengthy investigation and a confidential agreement between Ferrari and the FIA, in this case the team has been clear in its defense, assuring that the SF-25 does not require modifications and that the FIA inspection will not find any infringement. The timing of the complaint has also raised suspicions within Ferrari. Red Bull's accusation comes just as the media spotlight is on the signing of Lewis Hamilton and his adaptation to the team, which could be interpreted as a move to divert attention and generate pressure on the Scuderia in a crucial period of preparation for the season. In the past, such allegations have forced teams to make last-minute changes to their cars, affecting their performance in the first races of the year. However, Ferrari is confident that the FIA inspection will not cause a setback to its planning or alter the development program of the SF-25. The tifosi, the passionate Ferrari fans, have reacted with skepticism to the complaint, considering it to be an attempt by Red Bull to condition the competitiveness of their team before the cars reach the track in real race conditions. For Ferrari fans, this situation is yet another example of the political war that is being waged off the track and that can be as decisive as the performance of the cars in the championship. Internally, Ferrari has decided not to modify any aspect of the SF-25 before the FIA inspection, confident in the legality of its design and the soundness of its technical argument. While Red Bull insists that the Italian car's rear wing may offer an illegal aerodynamic advantage, Ferrari engineers maintain that this is an aggressive but completely valid interpretation of the regulations. The key will be how the FIA decides to evaluate this situation and whether it considers the SF-25 to be within the permitted limits or whether adjustments will be necessary. If the FIA confirms that Ferrari's design is legal, the Scuderia will not only have demonstrated that its car complies with the regulations, but will also have managed to neutralize an attempt at destabilization by Red Bull. In addition, this validation would allow Ferrari to continue exploring innovative solutions within the regulatory framework without fear of sanctions or forced modifications. On the other hand, if the inspection determines that the SF-25 does not comply with the regulations, Ferrari would be forced to modify its rear wing, which could affect its performance in the first races of the season. In that case, the team would have to act quickly to minimize the impact of any changes required by the FIA and ensure that its competitiveness is not compromised at the start of the championship. Beyond the resolution of this controversy, this episode highlights the extreme rivalry between Red Bull and Ferrari in the fight for the 2025 championship. The war in Formula One is not only fought on the track, but also in the offices, where every technical detail can become the center of a dispute that influences the development of the championship. The FIA inspection of the Ferrari SF-25 and Red Bull's complaint have sparked one of the first major controversies of the 2025 season. This situation could not only influence the development of the Italian car, but also set the tone for the rivalry between the two teams for the rest of the year. In recent years, Formula One has become a game of precision where every technical innovation is subject to extreme scrutiny, and this case is a clear example of how battles on the track are complemented by technical and political disputes off it. If the FIA determines that the SF-25's rear wing is completely legal, Ferrari will have won a key battle before the start of the season. Such validation would not only reinforce the team's confidence in its aerodynamic development, but would also send a clear message to its rivals. The Scuderia has found a solution within the regulations that allows them to remain competitive without the need for forced changes. In this scenario, Red Bull would be exposed for having tried to condition Ferrari without conclusive evidence, which could weaken its credibility in future technical complaints. On the other hand, if the FIA determines that the SF-25 does not comply with the regulations and Ferrari is forced to modify its design, the Italian team will face an immediate challenge in the first races of the year. Every change in the aerodynamics of a car can have a significant impact on its performance, and any unexpected adjustment could alter the team's competitiveness in the first Grand Prix. In a championship where every point counts, losing performance in the first few races can affect title aspirations, especially in a season where the gap between leading teams appears to be minimal. The outcome of this inspection could be just the beginning of a series of technical disputes throughout the year. Red Bull has shown in the past that it is willing to push its rivals on all fronts, and if this strategy is successful, they may continue to question other areas of the SF-25 in search of further modifications imposed by the FIA. At the same time, Ferrari could adopt a more aggressive stance in future complaints, further intensifying the rivalry between the two teams. Beyond the outcome of this investigation, the 2025 season has already shown that the competition will not only be about speed on the track, but also strategy off it. The combination of technical performance, aerodynamic development, and regulatory disputes will be key to defining this year's dominant team. With this situation developing, the question is clear. Has Ferrari found an innovation within the regulations that Red Bull fears, or are they really on the verge of a breach that could cost them dearly? Leave your opinion in the comments and share what you think will happen in the coming days. If you want to stay up to date with everything that happens with this case and with Lewis Hamilton's adaptation at Ferrari, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the most detailed analysis of the 2025 season. Formula One is just getting started, and everything indicates that this year will be one of the most intense in a long time.